Losing a loved one doesn't end the relationship, it just changes how you communicate. I'm Vanessa Lake, spiritual mental health therapist, and in this video, I'm talking about Mediumship 101, how it works, how spirit speaks to us, and how you can start connecting with the other side today. I even walk you through an exercise to help you connect. Let's get sciencey for a second. Your consciousness isn't stuck in your body. When the body dies, consciousness continues, just in another form, and science is coming a lot further in proving this. We've already discussed it in 8th grade science class. Energy can't be created or destroyed, it only changes form. So think about what happens with the energy that animates the physical body. Where does that energy go when the physical body dies? That's the consciousness, the energy, the spirit I'm speaking of. Mediumship is just a fancy word for tuning into that frequency. Think of it like a radio. You're not inventing the music. You're just adjusting the dial to pick up the station. The music's already there. Some people, well, they were born with a dial naturally closer to that station. Others grew up in a house with a lot of static, trauma, fear, religion that taught them to be afraid of intuition and certainly talking to dead people. Or, family culture that shut down being too sensitive. But muscles can be trained. Intuition can rebuild. And the ability to connect with spirit is available to everyone. What is a medium really? A medium is someone who serves as a mediator or bridge between the living and the spirit world. They act as a conduit, receiving the messages and then passing them on. But you don't need someone else to pass on a message. You can learn to be your own medium, your own sacred translator. After all, we're all spirits in a human body. We just forget that, and it blocks us from remembering the language of spirit. And that language isn't always full-length paragraphs. Rarely, if ever, actually. It's the language of signs, sensations, images, and downloads that spirit sends all the time. Remembering that spirit's language, it's like hearing a song again after 30 years and somehow you remember all the lyrics. Like, hey, this is familiar. I remember this. You don't even think about it. You just sing because you know all the words. They're there. Mediumship is like that. Here's an example. If I ask what ancestor wants to talk to me and I get an image of an apple, cardinal, fireworks. Well, my grandma was born on the 4th of July, fireworks. She was known for her apple pies, and she shows up as a cardinal to let me know she's with me. So that's like verse 1 of the lyrics you're remembering. It's my grandma. Verse 2 would then be, okay, grandma, what do you want me to know? There might be more pictures. You could pull some tarot or oracle cards, knowing that the message is coming from her. Or you could ask for specific advice, like, hey, grandma, how do I deal with your daughter, my mom? She's stubborn. She thinks she's right about everything. Can you help me out, please? Yeah. You could get a download of, remembering a time of listening to records and dancing. Remembering a simpler time of fun and connection, which might be telling you to focus on doing enjoyable things together, less conversation, more listening to music, watching movies, maybe baking or cooking together, more action. You don't always have to talk with people to convince them of your views or beliefs or to get them to understand you. It doesn't always work that way. You can still have a healthy, loving relationship, especially with a stubborn old parents, by just enjoying your time together and creating memories. So that would be an example of how the message would come through. So mediumship, fears and safety. Got to cover that because a lot of people avoid mediumship. Again, some of that's religious-based trauma that, they're afraid of inviting in something scary, dark, or evil. But let's clear that up. Talking to your loved one in spirit doesn't open any dark portals. It's not like a haunted movie with the Ouija boards and all of that. Again, I still wouldn't recommend Ouija boards in and of themselves. Not the best energy. That's just me. But we're not summoning something. You're intentionally opening communication with beings that love you, family, loved ones, spirit guides. That intention is key. And no, spirit can't take over your body unless you're actively consenting to channeling and you're trained for it, which is a whole other thing and not what we're covering here. So again, Whoopi Goldberg did it very well in Ghost, but that's not a common thing. So before I open my spiritual channel, whether it's to read cards, talk to spirit, or, cross a soul, I ground, clear, and protect every single time. Why? Because I want to stay me. Clear, neutral, not tangled up in someone else's grief, fear, static. You can be picking up on somebody else's energy, whether that's the person asking the question or, sometimes in the spirit world. So in order to be a clear channel, I got to ground and protect. Think about like washing your hands before a sacred ritual. You're not, scared of dirt and germs. You just respect the process. You're honoring the space of a higher vibration. So, when it comes to mediumship, you want to connect from a place of love and grounded clarity, not fear or desperation. Remember, like energy attracts. So, stay safe and stay aligned. Now, what if it's not a loved one or it does feel off? If you're ever connecting with a presence that feels angry, confused, draining, or ego based, or just not as loving and light as you would expect for, a spirit, that might be a spirit who's stuck and not crossed over. They might be trying to find help. It doesn't mean that they're evil. It just means that they need guidance and they're more attached to their human ego, human emotion. So this is what I do in my sacred crossing work. I help confused or unhealed souls transition fully and peacefully. But for today, just know that if that's what you're feeling, send them light and love. Ask the higher powers to help them. Send them to someone that they can help with. They can send them to me, or let their angels, loved ones assist with that. Sometimes that's enough. You don't have to, get involved in that, especially if you're like, ooh, this energy is really heavy, angry, dark, any of that kind of stuff. So today we're focusing on more of the heart-centered messages from a loved one, someone that you feel safe and connected to, even if you're still grieving. So how spirit communicates with you. Without a physical body, spirits are energy. So they can interact with other energy sources like radios, TVs, flickering lights, and yes, your social media feed. It's energy. Here's some common ways that they show up. Music. You'll hear a song that reminds you of them. Maybe you have meaning to that, memories. Could just be the lyrics of the song. But if you hear it loudly, repeatedly, especially if you're thinking of them and then you just happen to hear it, it's not random. That's them saying, hey, I know you're thinking of me. You're connecting emotionally, even though it's not a physical body. I remember being a really difficult period of my life, and I was driving, and I just asked my ancestors to kind of give me a pep talk because I was facing some really hard decisions and conversations I had to have. And bam, the very next song was Michael Jackson's You Are Not Alone. And then I knew that they supported me, and I felt more confident in what I had to do. Another way is animals. Birds, butterflies, dragonflies, deer, anything that stands out or really catches your attention. Animals are sensitive to energy, so that allows spirits to influence them to walk or fly, like right in your face so that you notice them. I had a hawk land on my balcony and stare right at me in the middle of the city. I did this at the exact same date 2 years in a row. Thank you, Facebook memories. But before, I didn't even think. So I finally asked, hey, who sent you? Because again, this seems more than just random, although very cool. And it turned out that it was a mentor that was in my life for 20 years. And he passed. It was definitely a loved one that was dear to me. But again, because it wasn't an ancestor, this was at a time when I didn't realize, like, oh, it's just people that have touched my lives that I care about, not just people I'm, biologically related to. So there's that. Don't just think it has to be somebody you're related to, step grandparents, step family members, just even friends. Another way is coins. Now, before some relatives passed, for me, they declared what coins they'd leave behind as a message for their loved ones. I have an uncle, that's a dime, and a grandpa, that's a nickel. And then there's my grandma, who said she'd be $1 as a coin. Okay, sure, Grandma, just go take your meds. Well, sure enough, she passed, and I went to the car wash and put in $1 bill to get quarters, to use the car wash. And instead, I got a gold dollar. Okay, thank you, Grandma, but that wasn't really helpful to wash my car. I needed quarters. But in case I missed it, it happened 3 more times the year after she passed. I was sharing this story with a client who'd also recently lost his grandma, and I was telling him to ask her for a specific coin as a sign. You can do that. Get specific. That way you know and you don't have to doubt yourself. Is it a penny? Is it a dime? Is it a nickel? Just tell him what coin you want. That's easy. Well, the very next day, he sent me a picture of not one, but 2 gold dollars that a customer had paid him with. And as soon as I saw it, I heard this song in my head. My grandma told your grandma, sitting by the fire. And he had no doubt that it was his grandma. And my grandma getting a message to me, knowing that he would send me the picture. Working together because there's no barriers in the spirit world. But that's something of what it looks like. The next thing is dreams. Often the easiest way for spirit to visit because you're not conscious. You're not getting in your own way, doubting or distracted. So when you're sleeping, you can actually travel into that realm to be able to meet with them. For me, Spirit visit dreams are more vivid. The colors are brighter. I can feel their touch, hear their voice. It just feels more real than any other dream. For my mom, she actually sits on a bench and talks with her parents, and they've been really helpful for her. She has yet to be wrong about the sex of all of her grandchildren, 12 and counting. The next step is sensations. It's feeling them near you. Sensations could also be smelling their perfume or having sudden chills or warmth or pressure, like someone's hugging you. A client was connecting with her grandma and she could smell her beef stew. Okay, that happens. Another one felt someone like literally tapping on their shoulder. That would be creepy to me, but to each their own. So it's not always words. Sometimes it's a sensation. Synchronicity, a conversation, a license plate, things that feel more than random. So I know my uncle sends me a hummingbird to say hi. I'm a bird watcher. A lot of my ancestors use birds because they know that I'm looking for them. And I'm in the city, so sometimes birds are a little more rare for me when I'm like, oh my gosh, it came into the city and there it is. But this was February in Michigan, so it was winter. I was running errands and I noticed that the car that was parked in front of me in the parking lot had a license plate with hummingbirds on it. And I was like, oh, okay, thanks, Uncle. And because I'm a little snarky, I was like, well, it's not like you could send me a motorcycle as a sign. It's February. He was an avid motorcycle rider. Well, sure enough, I left the store, and as I drove away, I saw two people on a motorcycle pulling out in the street in front of me. I followed them for a bit laughing because I was like, are you serious? Somebody's riding a motorcycle in February? Well played, Uncle. Well played. Entirely too random. Hummingbird, motorcycle, his two signs. Come on. So if you ask for a sign, they will find a way to deliver it. License plate, someone's shirt, a waitress name tag. But you have to be looking for it. You have to be aware. They can also use the cards. So Spirit can use tarot, oracle cards, no different than making an image pop into your mind or a certain movie show up on your recommended watch list on Netflix. You can ask them to start by giving you a card to confirm who they are. I did a reading for a client wanting to connect with her dad. I first pulled a card that showed a student in a library at a desk, and there was a whole bunch of books in the bookshelves and everything. And on the card, it said scholar, learning new things. Her dad was a professor at a university, so she knew right away that that was him. The cards afterwards were then the message for her. So you can do like that. And then the Akashic Records. This is how I actually started doing mediumship myself. When you access the Akashic Records, you're accessing your soul book, which of course includes your relationships with ancestors, loved ones, people that come into your life, and your spirit team. That's why it's referred to as connecting to the masters, teachers, and loved ones when you access the Akashic Records. Now, when you access these records, you're shifting your frequency from the 3D to the 5D. Very basic terms, I'm simplifying it here. So you can more easily communicate with other higher frequency beings who don't have a physical body. I spent many months in the records learning about my ancestors, many of which who died before I was born or when I was really young, so I didn't know them. I wanted to get to know them. They gave me visions of their life, their struggles, helped me understand the choices they made. My grandpa had filled me in with his emotions of regret, sadness over the type of dad that he was to my dad, which was passing on that generational trauma. He, felt bad. He wasn't a bad man. He just had wounds he hadn't healed, and I could understand them, forgive him, and also give me better perspective on my own father and where, that was coming from. It was very healing for me and the relationship I have with my dad now. So if you want to use the records, check out my link in the description to my Akashic Records course. It's coming in early 2026, and I'll be happy to teach you how to use the records to access and communicate with loved ones if that's your focus. But anybody in the spirit realm, Akashic Records can help you connect with that. They'll use whatever channel is most receptive to you. So the more that you notice, well, actually, the louder it gets. I mean, it's just practice, right? You're building your intuition. So if you start noticing the songs and the lyrics that are coming on, you will notice that they might mean more. Or again, for me, the birds showing up. Go ahead and leave a comment if you've experienced any of these forms of communication, things that maybe you thought were random, the synchronicities, the things that were just so odd that you're like, wow, I really feel like it was something more. It can help someone else identify what they thought was just, random. They're like, wow, I experienced that too. So please go ahead and share. Now, if you want to sign for yourself, just ask. It's really that simple. Ask your loved one for a sign, but be specific. One, your brain will talk you out of it. Absolutely. It's just what we do. We doubt. It's part of the physical human experience, right? We're in a society that says the physical matters. So you can ask them, send me a purple feather. Play a song that's meaningful to us within 24 hours. Let me know you're around with a chill on my right shoulder. Get specific and then pay attention. It's not about forcing, it's about opening yourself up to the communication. And if it doesn't come right away, don't doubt your ability. Sometimes they're working through the static to reach you. We are our own worst block with self-doubt, fear, grief, stress, because maybe you're only reaching out to them because you're going through a tough time and you're looking for support. But that stress is a lower vibration energy that blocks the message from coming through, and it causes distractions. So let's do a fun, quick exercise to help you tune in. Start by just picturing a white golf ball in the palm of your hand. Now, I want you to see that there, and then just see it turn blue, red, green, pink, black, and then back to white. Just imagining it. It's easy, right? All right, now I want you to think of a loved one in spirit, somebody who's, dear to your heart. Ask them to put a small object in your hand. All right, you see it? Feel it? Sense it? You know what that little object is. Now try changing its colors. Red, blue, green. If the color shifting gets harder, that means you connected with their energy imprint, not just your imagination. And that's how subtle mediumship can be. Now, if this didn't work for you, that's okay. It just means you have a different station to tune into. So go ahead and ask for the sign that might be more important to you, especially if you're an avid music listener and you're like, I really want to hear a certain song. Or if you're more of a feeler, then you might get more of the sensation piece. But that's a really good start for yourself to prove that, wow, I am connecting with them, because it's not as easy to change an image that they give you versus one that you make up in your own head. Mediumship is about healing, not proof. So if you felt overwhelmed by energy, you've seen shadows or figures in the corner of your eye, you've gotten messages and you don't understand, it's likely that you're a natural medium, just that conduit that's able to receive, who just hasn't had the guides or the language for it yet. Mediumship doesn't have to be scary, dramatic, or performative, and that's the thing. You're not here to try and prove anything. You're here to feel and connect. It can be soft, subtle, and sacred. It's often less about proof and more about healing. At least it is for me. There are evidential mediums who spend the whole session proving who the spirit is with name, dates, hobbies, personality, cause of death. And that's beautiful. And that's, works for some people. But in my practice, I'm more interested in what do they want you to know that helps you heal. Because for many people, especially those with complicated family histories, the evidence doesn't always mean much. I mean, if you don't even know who they were, in real life, in the physical, because like with me, they died before I was born, or my family does not talk about some of their family members. So I couldn't confirm anything if somebody said that they were, wearing a yellow sweater. I don't know if their favorite color was yellow. I don't know them. So that's not my focus. The messages can change your life. It can heal, create that forgiveness, give you the guidance you're looking for, because they have a different perspective on the other side. They can see the bigger picture. They can see where you're headed and tell you, hey, turn left. You're headed somewhere that might be, more challenging or difficult when it doesn't need to be. Mediumship at its best is therapeutic. It helps heal grief, reconnect, allow your emotional brain to have its wounds healed, because the emotional brain has no concept of time or space. Your emotional brain does not know the person is physically not here. It just wants to talk, connect, to feel that love again. And you got your intellect, unfortunately, in our society, that often says they're dead, they're gone, get over it. That's not how the emotional brain works. Mediumship can help that. So having this conversation between worlds helps with the understanding, the forgiveness. It's that bridge for healing. And that's what I want to emphasize and empower you to be able to experience for yourself. So if you're looking for your own messages from loved ones, I'll always empower you to do it yourself, because you can. And you're more likely to know what a yellow bow tie means a lot faster than me. But if you want help, I can provide a reading either with tarot cards or using the Akashic records. And if you want to do it yourself, I recommend you learn how to access the Akashic records. Check out my link, sign up for the waitlist for my course that's coming, early 2026. Got to get through these holidays. And fill out the form on the page and let me know what's the best days and times for live classes so I can accommodate the most people. For now, just ask for signs, play, have fun. That keeps the vibe high. And know that they're just waiting for you to communicate with them.